Hello and welcome back to the Engler Journey podcast. I am your host for the summer, McKenna Kirchhoff, and I am here with Mads Kreifels. We are going to get into some really fun details on what Engler students are doing this summer, but first I just wanted to give you all an update on my life, where I'm at. So I will finish out the summer for this podcast, and I have officially graduated and started with the Nebraska FFA Foundation. So I get to actually start hosting a podcast there. That will start in the school year, but it's been a really awesome transition. But I just love this community so much, so I'm really excited that we get to connect this summer as well. So just a little background on who is going to be on this summer. We're going to do a little bit more like mini episodes with our summer build camp students. So Mads is number one, and we do have a couple, Abby Miller and Keely Conrad, were both on the podcast earlier this year, and they are also build program students. So we will get to highlight everyone else and then come together at the end. But yeah, for now, we'll jump right into Mads and what she's up to. So give us the rundown. Who are you? What are you working on right now?
Yes, so my business is InfoFilm. It's an agricultural communications videography business where I work with agricultural producers to showcase their stories through videography.
Yay! So we kind of like the same stuff here. We like talking to people that love agriculture, and we like documenting it. So this will be a really fun one. So what is that looking like right now? How long has this been on your heart? And what is the build program doing for your business? What are you working on this summer?
Yeah, so I originally got the idea for InfoFilm about a year ago, and I took the risk in applying for Build Camp last fall, and thankfully got accepted. And I actually started this past January, and up until now I've been working on really defining who my target client is, and with that I've been conducting a lot of customer interviews. So far I've done over 40, and I'm about to do some more here pretty soon. And the goal of this is to truly define my target client so I can go after and start targeting them when I'm ready to start fully launch.
Awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
So what have you learned about who is your target audience and who isn't? Because I know that's a big process for a lot of people. Starting any sort of enterprise is really diving into, who am I marketing to, right? And that's a big, huge question. So what have you learned so far? What has that process actually looked like?
Yeah, so when I first started, I had big dreams. I walked into Whole Foods and just started taking pictures of different brands and sent out 30 emails to all these different brands, and I got 2 emails back, and they were really good conversations. I gained a couple of great mentors through them, but realized right away those companies were way too big for what my plan was moving forward. So then I zoned in on a more local agricultural producers, and now it's just finding that specific client within Nebraska.
That's awesome. So what are some of the questions that you ask these people, these local producers, to see if they fit with your business?
A lot of that is if they want to tell their story and if they really want to be transparent with their consumers. That is one of my main goals. The mission statement for InfoFilm is to reverse the growing gap in knowledge between consumers and the agriculture industry, and with that comes transparency. So I want to target agricultural producers that have those same goals and have that same mindset as me.
That is so awesome. Oh my gosh. So can you share anyone that you have gotten to connect with, or do you have anyone on the line that's like, once we kind of launch, those are the people you're looking towards?
Yeah, so I'm actually having a lot of conversations with Sandhills Elixir. They are a flavored water company, so we're actually filming this Friday for our first round. So I'm super excited to start sharing their story.
That is so awesome. I've actually followed them on Instagram for quite a while now. I always thought they were super cool because it wasn't just alcohol, but it was in Valentine, Nebraska, right? Is that where they're based out of? And they have really cool packaging. And I was like,
yes, they do.
Their marketing in general is cool, so that will be awesome. So pretend we're Sandhills Elixir, right? Like, what is your product going to look like? What is that going to how is that going to be put out to the world?
Yeah, so after speaking with them, they wanted kind of a mix of sharing their story, but also more advertisement focused. And they wanted this done through their social media channels. So it'll basically be a few Instagram reels and Facebook reels each month, with a mix of their story and another mix of more corporate advertisement video. So we'll kind of switch back and forth, but their story is amazing, so I'm very excited to start showcasing their story.
That's a great company to start with, honestly. That'll be so fun. I imagine that they're really fun to work with anyway. So that's awesome. So what are some of the, let's pivot a little bit towards some of the problems that you've come across that you're really honing in on solving and figuring out how you can work through those.
Yeah, so through a lot of my customer interviews, it's really been challenging to figure out what kind of producers view me as a positive resource that they're willing to invest money in. A lot of these producers are small enough to take videography and their marketing into their own hands, which is perfectly fine. That's just not who my target client is.
Right.
So that has been a challenge, trying to pinpoint who that is, because in order to be a functioning business, you need to have somebody who's willing to invest in you. And finding those people with my same mission statement has been the biggest challenge.
Yeah. But, what I love about that is it's a huge challenge, but I think that that's also one of the most important things about having a business is staying true to who you are and what your purpose is. Because if you pivot or you kind of lean and sway from that, it's just not the right people, right? And then it's not the right fit. So that's super important, but I can imagine that is a challenge as well. So what do you kind of have planned for the summer? What has Brennan kind of talked to you guys about, and what are you working on in every meeting? So to give some context, these meetings you meet once a week, correct? And that's with the whole cohort of Build program students, and then Brennan's a part of that. Sometimes he won't be, but you guys really get to kind of use each other as backboards to work through some of these problems. So I know you've had one meeting. How's that going?
It's gone really well. Our cohort already generally knows each other, and we're all super supportive of each other's goals. And I feel like that is one of the best parts about Build Camp, is because you have a whole support system that is rooting you on, but also holding you accountable throughout the summer. Build Camp, you basically dedicate your summer to working on your business, and with that can be a challenge of self-discipline, but with that cohort constantly rooting you on and holding you accountable really boosts that self-discipline and helps you get all your stuff you need to get done. So the experience has been great so far, and really my goals towards the end of the summer is to not perfectly because it can change, but define that target client and start getting more clients so I can truly launch InfoFilm.
Yeah, that is so sweet. So you're starting with Sandhills Elixir. You will slowly find some really great matches. We know it. It's going to happen. It's going to be awesome. That'll be so great. So as a part of this cohort, this, again, for our audience, since this is the first episode that we're really talking about this, the Summer Build program has shifted a lot over. It hasn't been honed in on the perfect practice, right? There is no perfect practice. But I think it's really cool. So you guys, how many of you actually started in January on this that are a part of the summer group?
There was, I think, 6 or 7 of us.
Yeah, because there's 7 of you total.
Yeah.
So that's so awesome. So so you guys all get to know each other before the actual summer starts, and you can really dive in. What have you learned from, let's say, this past school year? Like, you obviously have your mission statement. You've gotten really clear on branding. What did that process look like?
I felt like one of my biggest lessons while I was working in the school year is that it is totally okay to ask for help, and it is incredibly important to surround yourself with mentors, like people that are so much better at what your end goal is than you are, because that's your true growth point, when you have a community that is willing to help you grow, even if they're better than you. That's not a scary thing. That's a good thing, because that's where true growth happens.
Yeah, and they'll challenge you to be better and to grow, right? There's a lot of growing that happens in this, but I think that's what's so beautiful about it is it's hard. It's hard work that you guys do. So you've gotten kind of that done. What type of advice would you have for someone leaning towards the audio, the visual, kind of that social media dynamic marketing, as they are starting those types of businesses? What have you learned? Because you said this has been like a year that you've had this idea, and so you've been working kind of backwards, right? Like you have this big vision, and you kind of have to take steps back until you find a bite size, right? So what during that process, we're going to talk about a lot about processes this summer, but what about that process was something that you think could be good to give advice on?
Yeah, I think experience is key, and it is totally and perfectly fine if you start out with no experience, but surrounding yourself with people who are willing to help you grow along the way, finding great mentors is key to really making your idea come to life. If you were to ask me a year ago, I would have not have thought that I would be where I am today, but I'm so grateful that I took initiative and took the steps and found the people to get me where I am. And I'm excited to see where I'll be in a year from now.
Yeah. So how does it feel to work when you have support versus when you were working and you were somewhat in the dark, right? Like you were like, I don't know, obviously there's time is an element there where you've learned through that, but why do you think that's so important, and how you've gotten to grow now that you do have that support?
So when I was kind of trying to do things solo, it felt like I was like trudging through the mud. But once I gained a couple of really, really good mentors, I felt like my ideas were just, like I couldn't even bottle them up because there were so many of them. But through different Engler classes and with Brennan through Build Camp, he's really helped me focus in on zoning in on my end goal and staying true to that end goal, staying true to my mission statement and my focus, so I can really help and launch InfoFilm with my intention that I started with. Yeah,
that's so good. It is like it's a hard realization to try and do it all yourself, and it seems like that would feel the best, is like, yeah, I made it on my own, except it's just not realistic, and it's not, it might not be the healthiest path to take either. Like, it can be exhausting, right? So that's so great that you have had that experience, but you get to move forward with, oh my gosh, I'm just so excited for you guys this summer with this cohort that you get to work with. And you're all in the same bucket, right? You're all in the same boat. You're working on your businesses together, and independently, but you really get to have that. So that's great. What other types of things that you think would be valuable for Engler students, especially the young ones? Because you're going into your junior year, right? That's crazy. Oh my gosh. And I'm old now. This is so strange. But for people just starting out, maybe in like 101 or 200, Engler 200, is that 201?
Yeah, it's 201, I think now.
201.
Yeah, 201.
It's the $50 business class, right? What kind of, you said mentorship was really important. What about talking to customers? Because it sounds like you've talked to a lot of them. How do you approach that? Sometimes that can be really scary for people.
Yeah, so when I first started, I was also pretty nervous. I was never one to absolutely not say, no, I'm not going to make a phone call. But it can be intimidating to talk to and send 27 emails out in a day. But just go for it. You will learn so much more by talking to a wide variety of people, making cold calls, cold emails. They are so much more rewarding than the fear up front. And I think you just need to go for it. The 4 years here at UNL, they're extremely short, even though they seem long in the beginning. Just take initiative, face your fears right away, and just go for it.
That's really good. It is true. I know everyone says it. It's like, time flies so fast. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I am graduated, and it's not all gone. I could get sentimental, but I'm not going to. I get to still be here this summer, which is so great. And actually, my offices are like 50 yards that way, so it's just fine. But it goes so fast, and there's so many great opportunities to have this time where you get to have internships, you get to do summer stuff and work and have jobs, but you can also work on your business. So I think that's so great. Okay, so I just wanted to jump back a little bit. So I really want to know, how did you come up with this idea? Where did this come from? How did this spark inside of you, right? Because the first thing you shared is you went to Whole Foods and you were contacting brands. That's a big step, right? Like, that's like, all right, we're doing it. But what showed you that this was a need and that you have something that you want to give to the world?
Yeah, so about a little over a year ago, I was sitting in one of my agricultural communications classes, and we were just talking about how agricultural producers are struggling to connect with their consumers. They're putting all this work in, but consumers are still not seeing the true value of their product, because a product is more than the product itself. It's the story behind it. And needless to say, I did not pay attention the rest of the class. I didn't even have a piece of paper. I wrote down on a napkin what this idea was. Yeah, the iconic napkin moment. That's just what I thought about the rest of the day.
Wow.
And I didn't share it until I was talking to one of my journalism professors over in Anderson Hall, and her jaw was on the ground the whole time I was explaining it. And I added on a broadcasting minor and just have been focusing on this idea since and developing it. And that's really when I started investing my time in finding mentors and those people that could help me figure out and form this idea into something more feasible.
I love it so much. That's so good. That's awesome. Do you still have the napkin?
I do not. I think I used it.
She's like, this is the idea. Gone. No.
Yeah.
It obviously has not left your heart and your mind and your life, right? You're still working on it. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Well, I am so excited to get to see where you go over the summer and what changes, what happens. Say your goals again, kind of where you want to be, because I'm excited to see what that looks like in a couple months when we get a revisit.
Yes. So I want to define my target client and begin creating those client relationships. I want to have a few more clients by the end of the summer.
She's going to have some signatures.
Yes.
Some things in writing.
Some contracts signed.
That'll be awesome. Okay, well, we are so excited as an audience, as me. I follow up, and so thank you so much for being here. We will see you in a few months.
Yes,
Awesome.
so exciting. Thank you so much.